Today's show is sponsored by Indie Film Hustle's Filmmaker Process. We provide filmmakers with professional services to get their films or series funded, finished, and distributed. For more information, go to filmmakerprocess.com. Now, let me ask you, when you write and you're beginning to write a story or a script, do you start with character or you start with plot?
I start with concept, personally. Is it an idea that people can wrap their heads around in a simple way? And then I usually start with, I just usually start with cool stuff that I would like to see. Start with a moment, a series of moments, a sequence, an image, and build out from there. But yeah, you have to start thinking about character pretty quickly. It depends on the idea. There's something I'm writing at the moment that the character came late, and I wrote a couple of drafts, and then my brilliant script editor said, look, you've got to dig into the lead character because this is just about moments. Mm-hmm. So we then did a bunch of work, and there's other stuff where the character offers itself more clearly. But yeah, I don't know. I think I start with moments.
So it's kind of like aliens attacking a bunch of street kids.
Yeah, exactly. That moment, that kind of, moment that felt like it was from a Western, the confrontation on the street.
Yeah, feels like
the image of aliens climbing up the outside of a tower block. Mm-hmm. The notion of like finding sci-fi in an urban environment, all that kind of stuff. I like to sketch, draw images, draw mm-hmm. frames. I like to think of a poster. It never turns out to be the same poster. But get this. But yeah, I like to draw a little poster image. I was just seeing if I've got
an original sketch.
So for Attack the Block, this is the Attack the Block. That's what I made.
That's a really great sketch. That's a great image reference.
So I do a little pretend poster for myself. Because probably like, I don't know about you, Alex. I'm an 80s kid, so I grew up when movies were hyped and you just had the Ghostbusters logo or the Batman logo. You didn't know what it was. Like, I grew up in that period where movies were so marketing led, and there was a single that came out in the charts with little clips from the movie in the video.
Oh my God, I remember those days.
And you could describe a movie in 2 or 3 lines, and everything was original. So you had no idea what the fuck it was. Nothing was a franchise. So I was like, what, Ghostbusters? Ghosts busting? Or that's Bill Murray? This sounds really good.
This sounds good.
The song's really good. That logo is brilliant. I need to learn to sketch the logo. Shall I buy the soundtrack album? I bought the soundtrack album. And so by the time the movie actually came out,
oh my God! I'll go back because you and I are of similar vintages. I remember when Ghostbusters came out, and I did everything you said. I watched it. I'm not exaggerating. I think the record was 23 times in the theater or something like that. I loved Ghostbusters. It was at a really specific time in my life. I think I don't know what grade it was or how old I was, but it was a specific time. I just loved it. I wore out my tape, wore out the tape. But did you ever call the 800 number that's in the movie?
No, I was in London. It wouldn't. I told you I'm no good with dialing codes.
So I actually called it. It's a fake number. I didn't. It was a 555 number, but I didn't know. But that's how insane. I'm like, can I call the Ghostbusters? I mean, let's call the Ghostbusters. It was such a different time. I mean, I remember '89 was such an amazing year for films where Lethal Weapon 2, Batman. I mean, you couldn't walk anywhere in the world and not see the Bat logo. Like it was such an event. Can you tell, what did it feel like for you growing up around that time to just kind of tell people who are listening? Because now everything's an event and there's hundreds of millions of dollars at marketing and there's the internet and all that stuff. But before, in '89, man, there was that logo. And then it may be a glimpse of an Entertainment Tonight or an Access Hollywood, behind the scenes set interview or something. It was just nothing. What was it like for you growing up around that time?
It was really exciting. I don't know. It's defined my whole life because here I am doing and yours as well. Here we are doing what we're doing because it feels so. It just was incredible. I don't know. It's hard to put into words. Like with Batman specifically, the other thing you have to remember is there was a 6-month gap between movies coming out in America and in the UK.
That's right.
So friends of mine would go on holiday to the States and they'd see these movies and they'd come back and they'd tell me about them as if they'd been to another planet or some mythical country. And then you were like desperate for this. You had to wait another 6 months. So you'd buy the novelization, you'd buy the photo novel,
comic book, yeah.
You'd scour the radio. There'd be like features on TV about the new hit film in America, and they'd have like 30 seconds of it that you'd scour. I mean, for a kid going to school, those imaginative worlds of that scale with that much hype, just completely all consuming, right? Especially, there was sort of something entrepreneurial about 80s movies. They wanted you to be in them. They wanted you to be a Ghostbuster or be Luke Skywalker. Like they really invited you into their worlds, like as a kind of playground. Yeah. Is it different now? I'm not sure that it is. I think modern kids maybe have the same excitement, same level of sensation. It's definitely more of an industry, right?
But they have access though. They have access to, like we were like you were saying, scouring anything, any image, anything, any poster, whatever. Now you just like it's all out there. It's like it's all set up 6 months ahead.
There were loads of movie magazines you could read.
Oh yeah.
There were 1 or 2 little TV shows. There was still ways you could get your little hit. But you're right. There were fewer of them. Yeah. So it felt more momentous. And there weren't action figures for every movie. It was very select, only the ones that hit big. Yeah. So it did feel like there were these momentous moments every year or two that dwarfed everything else around them, whether it was like the first Superman movie or Ghostbusters or Raiders or, I don't know, or Batman. Like Batman for me was actually a disappointment.
Really? The first Batman? Really?
I think I'm a little older than you.
But you also built it up probably so much in your head that it could never live up to it.
It was shot in the UK, so there were photos in the tabloids, helicopter spy photos of the set and of the Gotham City set that were published in the tabloids. But what disappointed me when I sat down to see Batman in Leicester Square in whenever it was the curtains opening and it being 16:9. And I was shit. I wanted it to go 2:35. Yeah. And I was immediately a little disappointed that it was 16:9. And then it just was too campy for me. I don't know. It didn't work. I was becoming a little cynical. You know, I was an older teenager. So my inner critic was starting to evolve. I wasn't just like shoveling junk food down my throat by that point. I was like, I'm not sure I believe Jack Nicholson. And, that Prince song isn't one of his better songs. And
the pretension of being a teenager.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I like this. I like the first half of the second one. I think is fantastic. Batman Returns. I actually think is one of the best bits in the opening 45 minutes.
And it's Tim Unleashed. That was like I think the first time they gave Tim a lot of money and really kind of let him do whatever he could do whatever he wanted. That's why that one's. If you look at the both of them next to each other, you're just like they're kind of in the same universe, but one's a little bit weirder, without question. Which brings me to my next question, and arguably your greatest role in the film industry, Resistance Trooper in Last Jedi.
Thank you.
Your work there, how it did not get an Oscar, is beyond me.
I agree.
So as you can see, I have a life-size Yoda in my background. So I am a Star Wars geek. The audience knows my affection for Star Wars. What was it like? How did that come about? I'm assuming you just like called up Ryan and just say, "Can I just be a stormtrooper?"
No, Ryan invited us. Ryan is a good friend and a very, very good guy. And I met him through Edgar, and he invited Edgar and me and Edgar's brother Oscar to be in the movie, and he deliberately put me in a shot with John Boyega because John made his movie debut in Attack the Block, and JJ saw him in Attack the Block and cast him in Star Wars because of that. And so Ryan wanted to put a little Easter egg for people who would know that connection and put me behind John. So I'm in a few shots. I'm one of the most loose resistance fighters there is. I'm holding my blaster in quite a sort of dandy-ish manner. But it was crazy. We went to Pinewood, and it was actually the day the result of the Brexit announced.
Wow.
And it was incredibly stormy. There were massive thunderstorms, and this lightning and thunder were booming above the big soundstage. So it was weird. And Edgar and I sat with Kathy Kennedy and chatted about British politics and what it meant, what the Brexit vote meant. And it felt like quite a dark day, weirdly. But it was very exciting. It's an honor to be in that movie. And you're right. Like, what would that film be without me?
Obviously, your face alone gets at least 100 million overseas automatic buy.
Yeah, that's true.
No, but in the inner geek in you, you must have been geeking out a bit. Did you see Mark Hamill? Was Mark around? Did you had to geeked out a bit?
It was Oscar Isaac, John, Carrie Fisher was there that day. One of the nice things was the two guys that operate BB-8 are puppeteers that worked in British TV, and a lot of the stuff I did on my comedy show involved puppetry. So I ended up just talking to the BB-8 guys a lot about the Adam and Joe show, and they did a puppet on breakfast TV. So it's crazy, like being British and all these movies being made here. Like, since I was a kid, the notion that Superman was shot here and that The Empire Strikes Back was shot here and Raiders was shot here. Like, that was an incredibly surreal fact for me to learn. Like, it feels so exotic and foreign, but yet this shit's happening an hour and a half away from my house, And it's the same when on the set of The Last Jedi. A lot of the crew I knew, a lot of the costume people I knew. So yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, like if you told the 7-year-old me that was going to happen, my tiny head would have exploded.
Exactly. To watch the rest of this interview, head over to bulletproofscreenwriting.tv.